I've been pounding that Bayo shit. I seriously have it. I have one in my car. Yeah, I have one in my car, bare tint. And then I have one in my bathroom. So I put it on. See, can you see it? Can you see it on my face?
Yes, I see it. It looks so good. And actually, I quite like layering it. So I do the other one first. Just the, what's it called again? Not the bare tint. What's the one before that? The bare face.
Bare face. All right. So I layer with bare face first, and then I do bare tint over the top. And I actually love it. I feel like I don't need anything else. See, it's even on my lips.
It looks so good.
See the colour? Thanks, girl. Thanks, girl. Anyway, welcome to the Mother Daze.
Hello. Welcome to the Mother Daze podcast, y'all. Wow, we are reeling over the last couple of weeks and the birth story episodes. Holy moly, that was like amazing. Holy moly.
And by the way, the American voice is Sarah and the Australian voice is Teresa. Just because we didn't introduce ourselves, there could be some new listeners. We had so many people listening to these birth stories. God. Hello, new listeners.
That's right. I'm Sarah Wright Olsen, and the Australian is Teresa Palmer.
That's right. Hey. Hi, new listeners.
Hi,
my gosh. And our old beautiful daisies. So cool. We love you so much. It has been such a buzz, I feel like, for us. The last couple of weeks, we've dropped the back-to-back episodes of Nikki Reed and Abby Vidiken. I am still I feel like I thought I knew everything about birth, and I obviously clearly don't, because when the birth whisperer, Johanna, and they also call her the vagina whisperer, when they were talking about how the color changes of the vagina when it stretches, I was wait, what? And when I was looking at Susie's vagina, when I was the doula, I saw it. I was looking specifically for the color change, and I was like, I see the color change. And I was like, Susie, change your breath. Go. And she just did so well, and her vagina's magical, and she didn't have any like bad tearing at all. So thank you, Johanna.
That is so cool. I mean, I love that you were able to actually apply that in real time, because you were just running to a birth right afterwards.
I know.
That's amazing.
It was so great.
It's awesome. You guys, thank you for all of your messages. It's really cool to be able to share all kinds of birth stories, like every single kind of birth story. And it was so important to have on Nikki's midwife, Abby, and be able to share her perspective, because I feel like that's just so rare to have a midwife and to have the birthing mother together and to have that conversation. So that was so awesome. And thank you guys for all of your messages and everything. And it just really made me want to have another baby.
Oh my God. I know. Do you know what? It made me be like, I want to use Abby. I want the vagina whisperer. I need Johanna. Even seeing Dr. Crane in the photos, I was like, chuck in Dr. Crane. I mean, let's just like repeat Nikki's birth, but with our next babies. Done.
Yes.
Are you going to have another baby?
Done.
What do you think? Where are you at with that right now? Where are you at?
I am in an Airstream trailer right now. I have really been thinking about it a lot. It was like the like super moon last night. Okay, so you can kind of get an idea of where we're at with recording. And I was thinking about it a lot, and I was like, wow, if there's another soul that's supposed to come in with us, like, I just like was really feeling all the feels. And it was interesting. It was like such a funny day yesterday, like, you know, moon energy day. Like Esme, I took the kids to swim, and then we got back, and Esme actually, she kind of hurt her foot, and she was like screaming, and then it was bleeding a lot. And so Eric looked at it, and it ended up being that she had cut between her pinky toe and the toe next to it, and like very deep. So he had to take her to, I know, he had to take her to urgent care. And And I was like, I don't know, I was just like having so many big feelings yesterday, but I like had so much stuff going on that I couldn't really tap into it at all. And I was like kind of thinking about my dad, and I was like, oh, it just must be the moon. Like I feel on the brink of like, am I having anxiety or am I emotional? Like I couldn't figure out what it was, you know? And then my mom texted me, and I put this post up. So anybody who saw this is what it was about. But my mom texted me and she was like, hey, can you go check this message that I sent you? I found an old video of your dad and it's so cool. You can hear his voice. And I was like, immediately just like, whoa, that's so weird. You know, like that idea of 7 years later being able to hear somebody's voice that you don't get to see anymore. So I, went and clicked on the video, and it was the sweetest video of my nephew running to see a car bed that my brother had built, and my dad is filming. So you hear my dad's voice being like, oh, Miles, it's a car bed, it was like so sweet. And I just got so choked up watching it because I was just like, oh my gosh. And I had been thinking about him and just like felt this like energy anyway. And so weird this morning when I woke up, I like opened my phone to check to see that everything uploaded to our YouTube for the Mother Daze. And on my YouTube popped up a video of my friend Megan, who died 3 years ago or 2 years ago. And so it was like, it was a video of her
the other side
doing one of her
out.
Like, it was so crazy because I was just like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm like seeing my people, in this like really interesting way. And
maybe they're delivering you a new soul.
I know. I'm like, so does this have anything to do with the baby I'm asking about? I don't know. But it was just really interesting and cool, and like the energy was crazy, and everybody around me was like, the energy is so weird today, like this is happening, is happening. And I was like, I know, I think it's this crazy moon.
When you said that yesterday, our friend Cass, who works with us, she was like, I couldn't sleep, I had this crazy headache, I was up, I've been very busy, but yesterday was a particularly wild day for me. It was so like next level busy that I was like, I just seriously couldn't function. But I had a really weird last week. On one day, I had this one night, which was bizarre. I don't know if anyone, so I don't do well with insomnia because I had chronic, terrible, terrible insomnia back in 2006 when I was working on a film, and there was some like really dodgy stuff going on during that production. I instantly got insomnia and I had it terribly bad for about 3 months. And so I'm kind of have some fear surrounding not being able to sleep. Like sleep is such an important thing for me, and I sleep with my, eye mask on and my earplugs shoved all the way down deep, and then I have a sound machine on as well. So this one night, Mark went to bed early, and usually he gets into bed late. So I always like the fact that I'm the one that goes to bed first and I'm asleep before he comes in. But he happened to go to bed and was like out and asleep immediately. And I was like, oh, he's asleep. I was like, okay, my time to go to sleep. So I went to sleep and I got woken up at like 12:30 by Prairie, who wanted suck boobie. And which is, guys, that's what she calls it now. Suck boobie. I was like, oh, really? Didn't want to like come up with a more delicate term? Suck boobie. And she was like, suck boobie. I was like, oh my God. What has the world come to?
Funny. Oh my God.
Yeah. I was like, cool, I'll be your suck boobie, whatever. Grab it. She like grabs it, like just literally 2 hands, like shoves it in her mouth. And then like I'm awake and I'm thinking about like I can hear Mark doing his little light snores next to me. And then I start the next morning I had this big meeting for an American project that my American team were really excited about me, like potentially getting. Spoiler alert, I didn't get it. But anyway, so I knew I knew I had this big meeting. And then I also had Prairie's birthday party that same day. So I was just up being like, oh gosh, like, what drink should we get? And like, oh, maybe we should get these ones. Because we're staying in an Airbnb, so I don't have my usual things where I know where like my drink dispensers are and I know where my esky is, and which is like an American term for, what do you call that in America? An ice box? Do you call it an ice box?
Oh, sure. I think an esky is such a cuter name.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. I came up with it myself. That's not true. I didn't. But an esky, we didn't have an esky here. And I was like, crap, there's so many things I have to do. I was just up running through my to-do list in my head. And then I had this like paranoia that, I don't know if this has ever happened to you. Like as the hours tick on through the night, I started like feeling sensitive about like, have I offended someone? Does that person like me? Am I doing things well? Like, how's my life go? And then suddenly started asking myself all these really, really big questions like, why is life going so fast? Like, am I doing too much? And then I just spun myself out to the point where I started bawling my eyes out. It's like 4 a.m. I know I've got the pressure on because I know I've got to do really good in the morning with this director. And I'm just like in such a low place in the middle of the night. Mark would like sort of wake up and I'd be like, babe, I'm crying. And he was like, and like turn around and go, and I'm like, oh, I've got no one but myself to move through these feelings right now. Like every now and then Prairie would wake up and suck baby again. And I'd just be like, oh,
and you're like, get off, this is nighttime.
Yeah, I know. And then what I actually ended up doing was I did a journal dump of like the dumb shit I was telling myself at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
I did a journal dump, fell straight asleep as soon as I did that. Got a couple of hours sleep, woke up and did my director's meeting. Did the best director's meeting I think I've ever done in my life. Like really was tuned in and tapped in. And I was like, wow, I think that night's sleep wasn't really a sleep, but that night of sort of like sadness and anxiety and like it felt like I was hitting rock bottom. It was such a beautiful release and it gave me such a good understanding that my life is so busy that sometimes I needed to actually have that time to self where the whole house was quiet, everyone was asleep, and I actually got to reflect and look at the things that I want to do in my life differently, which is what we were talking about a couple of episodes ago, which is just this self-care and this slowing down. And I came to the realization that life has been flying by so fast because I'm jam-packing so many different things into it. And the reason why it's feeling more stressy right now, which for me is more of a foreign feeling because I usually don't get that stressed out, but it has been feeling stressful recently. It's because I'm doing too much. I'm saying yes to too many things. Yeah. And I want to get back to a place of just such presence without having to tick all the million different things off the to-do list. And it was such a gift to have that. And then the birthday party went so well. And I was surrounded by, I was looking at the faces of all these people that I love so much and the joy and the kids. And I was like, I tapped back into that energy and I was like, oh my God, this just feels so good. And what a beautiful gift to have had that crazy evening of like sadness and worry and thinking about things and, you know, overthinking that I could recalibrate. And I have had the best week since then. I was like, oh my God, I just needed to release this from my body. And I have just been on a high. I've got my hair blonded. I was like, yeah, girl, woo. Like just
you really did, by the way. We all saw those photos of you and wow, they were really good.
Do you know what's funny though? It's good lighting because then I saw photos from the event last night, like the professional photos.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, oh, I did not know that I looked like that. And of course, self-critical voice. I was like, wow, I prefer my own photos because I like found the light and found the angles. And then I looked at the professional photos and I was like, oh, wow, she looks tired. That girl looks tired. But anyway, thanks, Sarah. Hi.
But wait, Tez, okay, so you guys, the funny thing about this that she doesn't even remember because this is just how your brain works and your life's too busy.
Yeah.
Is it 2 days later after this story, I wrote you in the morning and I was like, oh my gosh, because I had been having like anxiety and I had this anxiety dream. And my husband thinks it's just like so hysterical. This is like 2 days later. I had an anxiety dream. So I had this dream that I was like, oh my gosh, I think I forgot to RSVP to Prairie's birthday party. I was like, oh, I forgot to RSVP. I don't think I did that. And I was like, wait, I don't think I saw that invite. Like, were we not invited to Prairie's birthday party? And so then I started to like spiral in the dream, like, why wouldn't Teresa have invited us? Like,
is she upset with me?
We're like family. Is she upset with me? Is she mad at me? Like, did I do something? I haven't heard from her in like a day or two. And then like I wake up and I'm thinking about it, my dream, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is so, wait, she's in Australia. Like, what am I talking about? She's out in America. She's in Australia. So it's just so funny that you had this like, anxiety. Welcome to my life, by the way. I don't know anybody else out there, but this is so my life, like my brain, it's how it works. I've really had to work so hard through it with like the stuff that Teresa's talking about, where she's laying there going like, did I offend anyone? Did I hurt anyone's feelings? Like, is everybody okay? Do I need to like reach out to anybody? Like, it was just so funny that that's how my brain works. Like, I don't know why. But I oftentimes will be like, oh, I have to remind myself that I'm in the weird delirious state of like the sleep cycle where I'm now I'm in the anxiety state. Cause it's like, you're fine at the beginning and then you start getting anxious about how late it's getting. You haven't fallen asleep yet. And then you get into the part where it's like, now I'm having legitimate anxiety about everything that could possibly go wrong in life in general, right? It's like, my best friend doesn't like me anymore. This person must be talking about me, or like, did I offend my husband? Are we okay? Like, exactly. So that is the weird anxiety state of sleep at night. And so I love your tip about the like journaling because
it was my last straw.
Yeah, for the journal dump.
I actually Googled. I was like,
a good tip.
Mark laughs at me so much about this because I told him in the morning, I was like, you just go have a look at my search history. It was so funny. It was at like 3 a.m. I was like looking at like crime library. I was like looking up crime. And then I went from crime into like, help, I'm feeling sad. He's like, did you actually Google help, I'm feeling sad? And I was like, yes, babe, my default mode, I'm generally really a happy person. Like, why was I feeling like this in the middle of the night? And he was like, wow, that is like the cutest, sweetest, weirdest thing I've ever seen. And I was like, I just didn't know. I was like, oh, maybe if I read an article about like how feelings, they come and go. Like, anyway, it was so funny because when I had 2 hours sleep and woke up, I just felt like a new woman. And then I was laughing at the woman the night before. I was like, oh my God, bless. That was nuts. Like, I don't feel any of those things now when I'm actually like conscious and awake and like with the kids and blah, blah, and doing my thing. I'm in my routine. It was just like being alone with my thoughts but do you know, it was like, I do realize that it was such a necessary thing. And I think there are probably so many people out there who they just are distracted by life. There's so much going on. And when you're a parent, it's like you have so many responsibilities. You have so many things that you got to remember. And it's like, it's book week and then it's grandparents' day and so it's this and it's show and share day. And then, basketball games at this time. And then this is, a late pickup this day, casual close day, this. There's just so much to hold. And then and like prepare and get ready and remember and all those things. And if you're the like default person in the house that like carries all of that stuff, you've got all of that, and then you've got all your own life stuff, and then you've got all your work stuff, and then it's like things like just driving in the car and dropping kids off at various different places. Like the day suddenly gets so filled, and
it does.
You get to the end of the night, and you're like, oh, you have an hour to yourself, and it's like I'm sure people are just like in these situations where they're just getting by. They're going from one thing to the next, and they're just going through all the movements of it. And you're actually never stopping to like really tune into your body and see, how are you feeling? Checking in with yourself. Like, where's the tension? Are you feeling sadness? What are you worried about? And one of my favorite things to do is and I've been doing this for about, I'd say 10 years. You know, when you get this little irrational seed of an idea in your head that, let's just say, for example, is my best friend upset with me? That, let's say like that's just a little seed. And like what is really happening is it's not based on any facts. You may be pulling together little tiny pieces that feed your narrative that you've created. And I call it your little movie. So you're directing the movie of like why that person might be upset with you and what you've done. And then you add all the little evidence and you feed it into your movie, and then you've created this whole idea, and then it spirals out of control. Like that is such a normal thing that people do, but I feel like I can feel it coming in. Like I'll feel the seed planted and then it's starting to grow. And I actually can stop when I find those moments in the day, wherever I can find them, to be like, all right, hang on, I'm feeling discomfort. Why am I feeling it? All right, let's go and take a real look at it. Okay, what are the actual facts? What's the evidence? What's the truth? Is there anything here? Or am I making some of this up? And if I'm making it up, I totally pull the power out of it. I'm like, boom. It's like I pull the plug. I'm like, no, I'm just going to let that go. And it's been so like freeing to do that. And it's so interesting. And I've read an article about it. It popped up like some article in the New Yorker about how like you're creating your own reality. We're all creating our thoughts and our feelings and our opinions on things, and it's just opinions on opinions on opinions. And like if you can just lessen the noise in your head and just literally be moment to moment, like that is where such true source of happiness comes from. And I just loved it. I was like, it's such a good reminder. And I've had the best week thinking about like just coming back to the source of presence, just being right here. Anyway, that's my philosophical musings.
Did I tell you about something that I saw, and I can't remember who it was, if it was like Adam Grant or one of those guys that I follow that just has like one amazing quote after another, but it just said that like at night it's so important before you go to bed and I've tried this a few times now. There have been nights that I haven't. And then of course I've done some of my like spiraling. But before you go to bed, because your subconscious is going to kind of go through like and deal with a lot of the stuff from the day, while you're sleeping. Right. And so if you can, you know how they talk about like programming your subconscious. And so it's like if we're right before bed, if we're like stressing out, which I do sometimes, especially with work stuff, if we're like scrolling through our phones or we're like doing things like right before you go to sleep or close your eyes, like instead of that, putting all of that away and shutting off that noise and giving your brain things that are positive and true, which is I am healthy. I have an amazing family. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to be healthy and to have this amazing home and like all of these things where you're sort of like giving your brain like those things to process before bed. So then as you go to sleep, your subconscious is like going, oh, I'm healthy. I'm, and it's like kind of like funneling through some of that. So I'll try to find that and send it, but that's kind of like the short the short of the what it is that I read. And it was like, I felt like that. I was like, that couldn't make better sense. Like, it's just so good and positive, and that's right. I mean, I wake up in the morning and I do my workout and my gratitude list and like all of those things in my brain and start my day that way. It's like, why am I not ending my evenings like that too? Like, why am I not going to bed?
Yes.
Yeah. Like, and just kind of like shutting off and going to this like soft, because we give that to our children, right? We give them like,
yes, a beautiful transition into sleep.
And beautiful transition. We're giving them a song and we cuddle with them, or like, whatever your routine is with your kid, that's the routine with mine. And then we go in and we like cram in some shows, or like try to like scroll through, Instagram, or like finish up 15 work emails, or like, yeah, exactly. Go on Reddit and like
the crime thread,
whatever the crime stuff, crime threads that Teresa's on.
There's another one called catastrophic failure. How bad is that? I'm on Reddit catastrophic failures, and it's like, whoa, that building crashed down.
I don't know how you don't have more. How do you not have more anxiety? Like, how do you read stuff called catastrophic failure? I would literally be coming out of my skin. Yeah, like
I know it would not work well for you.
It's as if the universe heard us talking about the moon energy, because then my computer went black and I sweat through my white t-shirt so bad that I had to switch shirts really quickly as I was trying to fix. You give the girl that gets anxiety the computer that goes black and dark and doesn't work, and it's not good. It's not good. So anyway, I'm back. God. I am. We're good to go. Okay,
she's back. She's got her dress on.
I'm dressed for birthday dinner, not for myself, but anyway.
So in the although it is someone's birthday coming up very soon, the big 4-0. Yeah,
it's my birthday month.
It's your birthday month. Woo woo. We still haven't figured out what we're doing for it yet. We gotta suss it.
No,
we gotta suss it. Yeah. So we were talking about this, and we're talking about how we get stressed out, and then how we were dealing with it. And I went on a philosophical rant. But I actually, while Sarah was away and she was dealing with technical difficulties, I was doing a little Google about this, and there's actually a thing called Depleted Mother Syndrome. And I was like, oh my gosh, how many people are going to relate to this? And it's like when there is an increase in demand, so your responsibilities, there's just an increase in things like demanded of you, but there's a decrease in resources. And whether that's like you're not connecting with your partner and it's feeling cold and distant, or you don't have friends who can help out, or I don't know, or financial decrease in resources. It's crazy to me, because the average mother actually works 20 hours more than their partner, no matter if they're getting paid for it or not. So there was that thing that came out recently. I don't know if you saw that. It was like the wage of the mother, the stay-at-home parent. Did you see that? And it was like your wage would be like $800. It was like $800 and something $1,000 if you add up all the hours and the minutes of the unpaid work of raising a child. I thought that was so cool. I saw it. I was like, this is rad.
I know. And I saw that too. And I thought to myself, I really hope this resonates with people, because it's so true. I mean, you think about between like all the email, like our school here, hasn't started yet. So there's like some schools in America that are already back. And then our school has not gone back yet. It's like a little different all over California. The moment school starts, you are inundated with so many emails. And now I have 3 kids going to school. So I'm going to get emails from every single grade from the 2 different schools. It's going to be a massive amount. So you think about like that alone, and then trying to get all the dates into your calendar, and then you're dealing with lunches and pickups and drop-offs and sports, and just like making a menu for the week, or like making the meals, or like whatever it is morning until night. And you talk about that, like earlier we were talking about that like nighttime scrolling, or that nighttime like trying to rush in and get a show, or like finishing an email or whatever it is. It's like I find myself during the school year trying to catch up on all the school emails at night, like plugging things into my calendar, and like then jumping on to like, okay, am I going to watch like 30 minutes of a show and then going to bed, and then waking up the next morning with exactly what you're talking about, where you're like, I'm exhausted. I'm so tired because I didn't go to bed early enough, and I was trying to carve out like a slice of something for myself, right?
And then it's I was reading more about this like depleted mother syndrome. I've never heard that before, but I don't think it's fair to say just depleted mother syndrome. It's depleted like main caretaker syndrome. And I was reading more about it, and it's like, so when there is an increase in demands but a decrease in resources, it equals an increased emotional sensitivity, which is why all these things start happening. The stress, the cortisol level is rising up, and we're feeling a little bit more sensitive. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I can actually pinpoint for me when that starts to happen. And there's also like a list of ideas and suggestions of what to do when it starts getting to that point. And so I wanted to read some of these out. This is just in the little break that we just had now in the middle of the episode. I was like, ooh, let me just compile like a list of suggestions. So this is one of my favorite ones. I always say this. Being comfortable saying no, because my husband came down on me about this recently. He was like, you are the biggest yes person. You're such a people pleaser. And I was like, I know. I'm trying so hard to be more comfortable saying no. I hate the feeling of disappointing someone, and I will do the craziest things just to like show up for a person. But then I get home and I'm irritable, or I just didn't have any time for myself. And then it's just not conducive for like a healthy environment if you're always saying yes. So being comfortable saying no, we talk about a lot on the Mother Daze, but we also talk about it in our book as well. And then identifying stressful activities. What are those stressful activities? For me, something that's really stressful is being late, rushing from one thing to the next. And when I try and take on too much in a day, which is, again, goes back to the saying no, like if I am trying to do too many things, I've got one of those days coming ahead for me, by the way. As soon as we finish here, I'm driving an hour back to the house. I've got a beach walk with one of my girlfriends who I haven't caught up with in a while. Then I'm driving all the way back down. And I've got another catch up with two friends at 2:45. And then I got to go to school pickup. Then I got to get them and I come back. I mean, there's just so much on my list today that I was like, oh, it's because I didn't say no to anything. I've just said yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Another great suggestion is, I loved this one. It says doing a mummy do not disturb sign. Like making a little do not disturb sign and just putting a little do not disturb sign up. You're like, hey, mummy's having her do not disturb half an hour or do not disturb hour, but I'm not available to you right now. And I do use those words. Like if I will say that to the kids, like, hey guys, I'm not available to you right now, but dad is available, or you can go and ask Nana. Right. We also have obviously Guillermo living with us right now. I'm like, Uncle G can help you with that. Like mummy is unavailable at the moment. I have 20 more minutes of getting this work thing done and then I'm all yours. And that's when you can put the phone away and you can fully be present with the kids. But if you have your little mummy do not disturb sign up, that's really cool because you're putting up the boundary, but you're also not being distracted with the kids where you're in like 1 foot in mothering, 1 foot in like doing the to-do list. So I really loved that suggestion.
Yeah. And I do that, by the way.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my God. I do that distracted thing where I'm like, okay, yes, hold on. I will look at the thing. Just give me 1 second. I just got to quickly, let me just finish this. And I was reflecting on that the other day. Like, I know that's not the way that I want to be. And it's like, somehow crept its way back in. And even when I'm finally good about getting it out, it finds its way back to me. Like I do it again. And then I'm like, oh, I'm doing it again, where I'm like, I'm telling the kids like, hold on. And I don't want to, if I was watching myself from the outside, I'd be like, what are you doing? Like, why do you need to send that this moment? Like go carve out your time. Cause I mean, really our house is small. Like we're with our kids all the time. So I really could like say, I need to go take an hour and go sit out into the office and like, that's my time when I'm going to get this work done. And then I'm going to come back in here because I don't want to be that person. So anyway, I'm glad you said that because it's another reminder for me because I have been doing that lately.
Yeah, I know. Same. I feel like we all do it because we're multitaskers, aren't we? We're like, all right, I'm just hanging out with the kids, but I'm also getting the email done and I'm also doing the thing. I find it so hard. And then it gets me stressed out if I haven't written back to people on text or if I'm like, they're going to think that I'm not interested or I'm not focused on the task at hand or, I can hear the little like mind movie going.
Oh, this is such a good one. Okay, so inventory of household duties. So this one is awesome because I think we kind of like go back and forth all the time about this because I think it's so important to like look at your family unit as a community. Like it's really such a bummer when all of the duties fall on one person's shoulders. In our household, I have a partner who like does so much of the like cleaning and tidying and organizing that half the time I'm like, I really need to get in there, So, but with the kids too, like I don't think that, Winter is not too young to jump in and be a helper with the dishwasher and Wyatt can like feed the dogs and Esme can fill up the water bowl and then they can both fill up their water bottles and then help Winter fill up hers and like having that sort of like household duty thing where everybody has a job and you're all working together as a community. I think it's like, I don't want to call it chores because then kids are like, I don't want to go do that. And it's like, no, we're a part of the community. We're doing this as a team. This is our thing. This is our morning. This is our evening. Like this is how we make this household flow in a really great way because otherwise who would be doing it? It would all go and then kids would be like, Dad. Like, who would be doing it? Dad. Right. But no, we can't just have Dad doing that. Okay. Everybody has to do it. So anyway, I think that's a really great one because it's so nice to be able to like have that community unit.
Yeah. I've always tried different variations of it. Like, okay, where it's the family unit, it's the family team. Like we've all got our own personal responsibilities. Like guys, just make your beds. Like don't leave any dirty washing on the floor. That's one of the main things is like, okay, send like whatever it is, whatever you have, like send it to the dirty wash, like pick it up, take it, drop it over there. It's not that hard. I actually have a friend who's started from 8 years old. Like that 8-year-old kid does their own washing because it is actually so easy. You just like have the lights, you have the darks, you put it in, you like open a bottle, put a little bit of washing detergent, chuck it in and press a button. Like it isn't actually that hard. That I was like, maybe I should start having Bodhi do that and taking responsibility for his stuff and also getting to teach him a few little like tricks on how to get rid of stains and all the things that actually I didn't learn until I was an adult. And I do wish that I had more of an idea on how to do some of those jobs, which is actually quite cute. Going to toddler class, the Montessori toddler class, the little activities that they're teaching the kids, a lot of it has to do with the household, really practical life skills, which is really cute. And seeing Prairie want to do it and that translates when she comes home and she's like getting a little spray bottle out and wanting to clean the floor. And you know how they have that curiosity when they see you doing it, like how to fold them back into it. I think that's so, so neat. And I recently this week started this thing called LKH, where we can just ask ourselves, Are we being loving? Are we being kind? Are we being helpful? These are our 3 things that we can check in with ourselves as a part of the family unit. Because Bodhi, like I said this to you the other day, like he asked me this really sort of philosophical question out of the blue the other day. He was just like, the other kids were outside playing. And I've noticed that, you know, I've been talking about that, where the little kids are doing a lot of imaginary play and then Bodhi's sort of reading a bit more, and he'll pop in every now and then and have a play, but I can just see the transition, right? The emotional growth and the transition out of like kid life into like preteen. So he walked over to me and I was like, Mom, I've just been thinking about life. Like, what does it all mean? Like, we have 24 hours in the day and they just sort of, it's one day after the next, and then the day just falls away and then you forget about that day and then you're just on to the next day. And I just want to know, like, what does it mean? I remember being like, whoa, big thoughts by Bodhi Palmer. But it was so beautiful because it actually made me think about that. And I was like, okay, I've had these same thoughts. Like, we all get to make up our own version of what life means, what the meaning of life is. So him and I together fleshed out this thing. And so I was like, all right, really, we have 16 valuable hours that we can actively be doing something when we're not sleeping, right? And if you don't look at it as like, you know, every day just sort of disappears, every day is an opportunity for growth. What are the 3 things we can do each day? And him and I came down to 3 things, which was, okay, every day, how can we be impactful to another person? What can we do every day to help that person's day feel extra special if we can find that thing each day? Every day, what can we do to be of an expansion? Like, how can we expand? Think about like what we can learn. We can learn about ourselves. Maybe we learn something about another person. Maybe we learn something about the world or the universe or something exciting. So every day we're expanding in some way. And then the last thing, every day we are doing something so joyful that brings us so much joy. What is that thing? And all of those like 3 little pieces, we get to pull and like weave it into the fabric of who we are. So every single day is not wasted. Every single day doesn't just disappear. Every day we're adding another little piece, another little layer onto ourselves. And we both got to this amazing place where we had tears in our eyes and we were so excited about every day. What is the thing that we add? How do we add to the fabric of who we are? And I was like, oh my gosh, Bodhi, your question just made me look at myself and think about like, every day counts, every day matters. And it was such a cool little perspective change. I just loved that. And every day, like, what are your 3 things?
Yes, I want to apply that to our lives. I think that's amazing. All right, daisies. Thank you guys so much. And sorry for the little technical issue there. And Tez, I love you. And I love you. You guys have been listening to the Mother Daze podcast. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Please share our show and send us your thoughts or who you want us to interview or any of your questions. And we will get back to you so soon. Bye.
All right. Bye.